I hear people say I can't draw at all. I can't even draw a straight line all the time. It's a phrase that bothers me a lot. It's so discouraging and can definitely change. And I say this to people every time. I use myself and my own story as a perfect example to prove to them that they can learn to draw. They can learn to do anything they want if they just practice and don't give up. My name is Amber Wright. I came from being a shy little girl who all she wanted to do was to be able to draw as good as her brother, to being a graduate at Full Sail University with a bachelor's in game art. With all that I've learned, I feel I would be able to use my imagination to its maximum potential working with Sony. With games like The Last of Us and Uncharted and the special attention to detail that this company is known for, I would be a great fit. My journey started when I was just 5 years old. My brother was taught a few drawing techniques by our dad, who is pretty good himself. My brother would try to teach me some of those things he was taught, but even with that, I was never as good as him. We would pick a Disney movie and each draw the same cover, and every time his would look so good and mine would look like a mess. I remember feeling so envious of him and his talent. I would watch my brother come home from school with artwork he did, and I would just wish that could be as good as him. He seemed to be effortlessly talented at it, and it would anger me sometimes that I didn't have it in me. I felt like it had to be something you were just born with, or not. That idea didn't sit well with me. I wanted to draw so bad and prove that you didn't have to be born with it. With enough practice, I could learn to draw. I sat down one day when I was 14 years old and said to myself, I'm going to learn how to draw if it kills me. I'm going to practice every day until I get as good as my brother. And so I did just that. When I finished my first drawing, I showed my brother and the rest of my family. It wasn't half bad. I got good reviews on it. If it was a failure, I was going to trash it and try it again, and no one would even know that I couldn't do it that time around. I would just try again and again until I got it. I was just always scared to take art class in school until this moment. I decided I have to face my fears if I really wanted to learn. Even with my first painting, I was scared and unsure how I would do. It was a project for my first art class. I had to pick a family photo and paint it. I even had to mix all of my colors by myself. At first, the painting was a mess. It wasn't going how I had hoped. Eventually, with time and practice, it came out all right for my first painting. My teacher was so impressed that my painting was hung in a Barnes & Noble's here in San Antonio, Texas. You can do anything you want if you just practice, was what I repeatedly said to myself. I went to class and learned a few techniques and would go home and practice more. It sort of became my obsession. Unfortunately, Christmas 2004, I lost my mother suddenly and unexpectedly. She and I were very close. She was everything to me. For a long time after her passing, I didn't want to do art. I didn't have the drive or the will. It seemed that my whole world was flipped over and I didn't know how to put everything back. I would pull out paper and pencil and just try because it felt so wrong to not be doing art. But I would get started on a piece and then quickly lose interest. A year later, I graduated high school, and with that accomplishment came inspiration to try my art again. I would make little sketches at my desk at work just to keep practicing. Some of those sketches later ended up being developed and becoming bigger pieces. I would practice drawing from ideas in my head to drawing from reference photos. I submitted work for contests and tried many different mediums just to see what I could do with them, all in hopes just to be as good as the one person who inspired me to even try. Today, my brother says I'm better than him, and that wasn't even my goal. I felt so shocked when he said that to me. I was not expecting that. It inspired me to keep going and to get even better. I really felt like with enough practice I can learn to do anything I wanted. I spent my time perfecting my skills as an artist. I even played with digital art and 3D art. That gave me insight to some of the possibilities for my artwork and inspiration. I would use 3D models in Photoshop to create mystical characters. It felt great to put my ideas to an image. My drive to be remotely as good as my brother in the same or similar field is what drove me to expand my skills. With all that practice, I was able to exceed my expectations. There were so many times when I wanted to learn how to do something. I wanted to learn Photoshop so bad that I ruined a few computers just to get a free version to learn. Once I got my hands on it, I played with it and taught myself. And I also wanted to learn photography, so I went out and bought a camera and took it with me everywhere I went just to take photos when I saw something interesting. From these experiences, I went forth with the motto that I could do anything I wanted with enough drive and practice. In April of 2018, I lost my grandmother to lung cancer. My father wasn't around, so she was always like a second mother to me. I lost my drive again, watching her go through chemo and all of that suffering. I felt pretty alone. I had no other parents or grandparents left. It felt easy to just slip into bad habits and lose myself. But in the end, I decided I didn't want to let this bring me down like before with losing my mom. I wanted to do something for my future, so I enrolled in Full Sail University. I have tried going to college 2 other times, but didn't complete the programs. I quit out of fear of failure mostly. But with Full Sail, I applied my motto, that I can do anything I want if I want it enough. I took many courses that helped expand my talents. I took a class in model creation where I learned developing characters to scale and proportion. The 3D animation course was especially helpful in helping me learn to animate sequences of movement. It was in game animation where I learned how to enjoy developing characters with immense detail and making them come to life on the screen. I really loved adding unique edges to characters, and this was when I really found my love for it. It was because of my love for art and character design that I even gained an interest for game art. I started diving into video games even more than before, mostly for research and inspiration. The amount of detail in designs and gameplay always impresses me. It also inspired me to join this field. I would love nothing more than to see my creations come to life where other people can play with them. Saying or thinking you can't do something is an approach that has never worked for me. It was fear of failure that kept me from even trying. I didn't tell anybody when I started to draw, out of fear that they would make me feel I couldn't do it. With enough passion, drive, and practice, I learned anyone can do what they set out to do. Certain losses have made me lose that drive, but my passion for creating has always come back. I will always strive for that drive and passion on your team. Sony can gain a fresh brain and set of skills that can transcend and bring new, unthought of characters to your games. I ask that you see what I can do, because with a little motivation and practice, I can do anything I set my mind to.